This is Chapter 6 of Weeds in the Garden of Freedom by Deborah J. Reeves. All rights to both the book and presentation are reserved. Please settle in, make yourself comfortable, and we'll start now. Chapter 6, Survival. Aki, Oscar, and Colette had rushed through the cold parking lot, and they entered in through the back door of the restaurant. While they were stomping snow from their boots, the owner approached them with quiet concern, and he took their coats. Colette had to move the pin from her coat onto her dress before she could let him take hers. He informed them that everything was in place and that he had put Marie, Bertie, and his daughter and the twins into the rear room that overlooked the waterfall so that they could have some peace for a few minutes. Fan and Michelle had everything under control at the front of the restaurant, and their husbands had already joined them there, he reported. The owner informed them that finger foods were already at the serving station for those who were early. He suggested that 3 new arrivals might like to go into that reserved room as well, so that they could regulate how much interaction they had. He finished by telling them that his entire staff was ready to protect them from any undue stress. They nodded. Oscar knew the way to the rear room, and Colette and Aki followed him. They went down a short corridor and they paused at the doorway. The twins were standing in front of Marie. Bertie was holding Alicia in his arms, and he was looking out the windows at the waterfall. There were windows on 3 sides of that end of the room, and light flooded in, even though it was a dull day outside. There was just a small trickle of water in the middle, and icicles and frozen sheets surrounded the little cataract. It was not a large room, but it had held several white linen top tables and 3 booths. From her position on the built-in window seat, Marie was listening intently to Carr, and then her head turned toward Desi. What they were saying appeared to be making an impact and taking her by surprise. She looked as though some blood was pumping out of her heart, and life was resurging into her body. Aki and Colette looked at one another with astonishment. They watched for another moment, and then the twins turned and thundered toward them, yelling out, "Hi, Mama! Hi, Papa! Hi, Uncle Aki!" And then they pushed past their legs and into the short corridor. They did not wait for a response. Bertie turned and walked toward them. He approached them, and when Colette reached out, he handed his daughter to his mother's waiting arms. He hugged his father, and he hugged Aki, and he whispered, "She's doing a little better." I don't know how it worked, but it was the twins. They were waiting at the back door. As soon as they saw us, Carr ran and got Fan to bring Alicia, while Desi led us here. He separated us, and he told me to take care of Alicia. He literally told me where to stand. Marie staggered in with me, and she had not stopped crying all the way here, and all the while she was here, until they took the situation in hand. They told me to listen to them and do it for Philippe and Marie. They really meant business. Tears just kept falling down her face. She never made a sound. It was eerie. I started to get really scared that I was losing her for real. The twins pulled her out of that corner over there, where she had placed herself when we got here. They turned her around and they made her sit where she is now. Somehow the words broke through the hell she was sinking into, and they called her back to the surface. I wasn't supposed to be watching. They had told me to watch the waterfall, but I couldn't resist. Desi held her good hand, and Carr held her shoulder the way Philippe used to hold mine when he was reading me the riot act. They both leaned into her face, and they took turns whispering to her. I didn't hear what they said, but they were not giving up. Once I heard Carr yell at her, and Desi backed him up. Suddenly she seemed to be behind her own eyes again. She was there, and she was listening intently. Colette left the group then and approached Marie. When she got close, Marie looked up into her eyes. Colette recognized that her own Marie was looking back at her. "Hi, Mama. I didn't see you there." She held out her arms for Alicia, and she patted the seat on her right side, indicating where her mother should sit. "Mama, stop worrying. I'm going to be all right. Desi and Carr told me what I have to do. They're pretty bossy for little guys, but they're smart. Mama, do you remember those dreams I had when I was little about going to England and studying medicine? You didn't tell the twins about that, did you?" As Colette handed off Alicia, who was still sleeping soundly, she answered, "No, Marie, that night never came up. I told them about how naughty you and Bertie sometimes were, to inspire them that they could outgrow their impulses. But I did not go as far as telling them about your serial dreams when you were 7. Perhaps I was waiting for them to be 7 before I did that." Colette smiled. "Why?" "Mama, I don't even know what to think about how they came to know this stuff, but I'm not worrying about that right now. They told me that Philippe talked to them in their dreams all last night. Carr knew some things and Desi knew other things, but together they got out a whole version of my future. They told me that the next step was to go to England in the fall. I should get an apartment there on a lane with cobbled streets. Well, they called it a street with stones that looked like popcorn bumps. I'm supposed to apply to Oxford University right as soon as I return to Paris. They told me that I should go there right after Suzette had her baby. I didn't even think they knew she was pregnant. Oh well. They continued that she would have her baby early and I would be in England in time for my classes to start. They said that Oxford would make me study there for 2 more years and I would graduate from there. They said I would make friends. There would be a guy named Nigel who would be a good friend and not bug me, and there would be a girl named Laura who would be my friend forever, and another who looked like Auntie Fan, who was crazy about plants. I think all you have to do, Marie, is put one foot ahead of the other, making sure that each step is steady before you take the next one. Getting through the days is an accomplishment right now. There is a time for planning the future. I will always be a phone call away, no matter where you are." "I know that, Mama. I know. But I don't think I have to plan. I think the twins worked it with Philippe and maybe even Anne-Marie to plan for me." Marie told her with amazement on her face. Aki, Bertie, and Oscar approached. Then, overhearing her words, Marie looked up and told them, "The situation stinks, but I'm going to survive it." Seeing that Marie was doing somewhat better, Aki looked toward Bertie. He was looking haggard. Of course he was, Aki mused. His best friend had been murdered. The father he never knew he had killed him, and his wife had run away into the mysterious night without a word. The horror just never ended, Aki reflected. Then he returned to the present moment. He reflected on the fact that his visit to Oxford had gone far better than he imagined it would. His previous trip to England with Bertie had netted a good solid building and a crew to do the refurbishments. The work was further along than he could have imagined. That Bertie was turning out to be a rock in his old age. Who would have guessed that when Aki had initially resented Bertie's role in Marie Claire's life? That thought made him recognize anew that he should not rely on his own first impulses when it came to some people. He would once have boasted that he had superlative instincts, but now he knew better. In the current moment, on the return trip from London to Paris, a steward approached Aki, bringing him up from the past. The young lady told him that they were nearing Paris and that he should refit his seatbelt. Like he drew himself back into the present moment and said thank you. He clicked the seatbelt and he remembered that he would see Marie before long, and he felt some comfort. That's the end of chapter 6. We look forward to reading chapter 7 to you in the near future. That chapter is called A New Path, and I remain your friend, Deborah Reeves. Bye-bye.